We spend so much energy pushing at the world as if it were a heavy door, forgetting the handle is on the inside. The moment you accept that your assumption of being is the cause, your chase ends and your claiming begins. You do not need to force outcomes into place. Occupy the state of the person for whom those outcomes are normal. When you wear the identity of who's already mine, your thoughts, emotions, choices align themselves without strain, and life starts echoing the certainty you carry. Trying hard is often a confession of distance. It says, I don't have it yet. Every day, you repeat that inner story, you rehearse lack and call it effort. There's a better way. Choose the end. Imagine the scene that would be undeniably true if your desire were fulfilled. A simple, natural moment that implies completion. It's a quiet smile of relief, congratulations. Call, a bank balance screenshot, a key turning in a new door, a hand you now hold. Let that be your inner home. Return to it until it feels like memory rather than wish. Your nervous system relaxes when it recognizes home. And from that rest, inspired action becomes easy, timely, and effective. Your self-concept is the climate in which all seeds grow. Unlucky, even the best opportunities catch a cold in your presence. If you accept, I am chosen, ordinary moments bloom. So, name your answer to. Not someone hoping, but someone who already is. Say it in your inner conversation when no one is watching. Inner speech writes the script of your days. I am the person who closes the deal. I am the woman whose love is reciprocated. I am the man whose body heals and thrives. Speak from the end. Feeling will take the cue. Feeling is the bridge. Not the frantic emotion of chasing, but the quiet tone of completion. Try this before sleep tonight. The armor of striving. Breathe slowly. Picture your chosen scene for a minute or two, not as a spectator, but inside it. Hear the words, the textures. Notice the afterglow in your chest that says, don't. Drift off there. This isn't forcing reality, it's selecting it. After night, you allow your subconscious to marinate in fulfillment and life begins to organize itself to keep your inner promise. Stop chasing. Assume. Step into the end result and let it shape your thoughts, words, and actions. When you are trying hard, straining, and pushing, unconsciously affirming that what you desire is separate from you. The very effort implies distance, a gap between where you are and where you want to be. But the truth is that you were never meant to chase. The moment you imagine the end and step into it, that state becomes yours. You are not a beggar knocking on the door of life, waiting to be let in. You are the owner of the house. The key is already in your pocket. Assumption is that key. When you assume, you claim the reality of your desire right now, not as something to earn later. A prize waiting on the finish line of struggle, it is already here, waiting for you to recognize it. Think about it this way, of chasing keeps your eyes fixed on the horizon, but assumption brings the horizon into the present moment. Assumption does not ask, when will it come, but instead rests in, it is already mine. That shift is subtle yet profound, because when you see yourself as the one who already has, your actions carry a natural confidence, your words hold authority, and you communicates completion. Others feel it. Opportunities respond to it, and circumstances bend to it. Chasing leaves you exhausted. It places the responsibility on your outer effort alone. You look at the world as though it is withholding from you, and so you fight, hustle, to pull it closer. But assumption flips the script. It tells you that the world is not withholding, it is mirroring. And if it is a mirror, the only thing you ever need to change is the reflection you choose to hold inside. This is why stepping into the end result is so powerful. It bypasses the noise of how and when, and plants you directly in the soil of fulfillment. As the person who already possesses the outcome, your entire being shifts. You no longer speak words of doubt like, one day, maybe. Instead, language transforms into, I am. I have. It is done. These simple phrases carry immense power because they no longer reinforce separation. They align your conscious and subconscious, leaving no space for contradiction. And once that alignment happens, your outer world has no choice but to harmonize with it. Consider the difference between a person chasing love and a person assuming they are already loved. Chaser tries to impress, anxiously seeks validation, and fears rejection. The one who assumes they are already loved walks into a room with quiet assurance, radiating warmth that naturally draws others. Both may desire the same thing, but only one carries the state that guarantees it. It is alignment. The same holds true for health, abundance, success, or peace. If you are trying hard, you are announcing that it is not yet yours. But if you step into the end, you begin to breathe and move as though it were a settled reality. As if it were settled, it becomes settled. The world always responds to the identity you wear, not the effort you push. So stop chasing, straining. Pause for a moment and see yourself at the destination. Speak and think from there. Let that state shape your thoughts, words, and actions. The secret of assumption, it brings the unseen into the scene by making you embody it now. You do not need to try hard to manifest. You only need to assume because it's already yours. Your self-concept is the factory of outcomes. Upgrade it and your world must follow. In life flows from the image you hold of yourself. If you see yourself as small, unworthy, or limited, then no matter how hard you push, will echo that back to you. If, however, you see yourself as chosen, capable, abundant, and loved, outer world has no choice but to match the inner picture. The world cannot outgrow the seed you plant inside. It only reflects it. True transformation never begins with circumstances, money, people, or opportunities. It begins with you, with how you define yourself. Concept is the atmosphere around you. It is invisible, yet it determines the climate of your life. If your atmosphere is filled with doubt and not enough, everything that tries to grow in your life becomes stunted. But if your atmosphere is saturated with confidence, worthiness, certainty, then even small seeds of opportunity blossom into extraordinary results. Two people can step into the same situation and experience completely different outcomes. Their inner factory is producing two different realities. The challenge most people face is that they want change on the outside while clinging to the same identity on the inside. Wealth while holding the self-concept of being broke. They want love while carrying the self-image of rejection. Peace while maintaining the inner story of chaos. That's like asking an apple tree to suddenly produce oranges. It cannot. The seed itself is changed. And so it is with you. Conditions of your life are never the starting point. They are the result of the self-concept you consistently assume. Self-concept does not require force. It requires awareness and choice. Begin by noticing the inner labels you answer to, around unconsciously declaring, I'm unlucky, I'm overlooked, I'm always struggling. These may feel like facts, only repeated assumptions. The moment you identify them, you can replace them. Choose deliberately. I am favored, I am capable, I am secure. Say these not as empty affirmations, but as new truths that you are willing to inhabit. Even if your outer world has not yet shifted, willingness to accept this new identity is enough to set the factory in motion. The self-concept you hold reshapes your behavior without strain. When you see yourself as valuable, you no longer tolerate being treated as disposable. When you see yourself as prosperous, you make decisions that align with growth rather than fear. When you see yourself as healthy, you naturally move toward choices that support your vitality. Force the behavior. It emerges naturally because the factory inside is producing it. Self-concept is the most powerful lever of change. Adjust it, and everything else begins to reorganize itself. A person who upgrades their self-concept from always failing to always learning and growing, with that one shift, stops being a wall and becomes a stepping stone. They approach opportunities with curiosity instead of dread. They persist longer, faster, and attract collaborators who see their determination side changed first. It was the inner identity that created a new rhythm of outcomes. The beauty of this truth is that you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need external proof to change your self-concept. You only need to decide who you truly are and claim it within yourself. The world will eventually bow to the authority of your self-definition. Life can only echo what you project. It cannot resist your inner certainty. So ask yourself, who am I willing to be? Not someday, but right now. If you hold yourself as powerful, then power will flow through your words and choices. If you see yourself as loved, love will meet you in the faces around you. Accept yourself as abundant. Opportunities will gravitate toward you. The factory of outcomes is running at all times, and it takes its orders only from your self-concept. Upgrade the factory, and your world must follow. It has no choice. The outer is forever the servant of the inner. Stop begging life to change while keeping the same self-image. Step into the higher identity now, the outer world reorganized to match the new you. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are in constant conversation with yourself. Dialogue runs in the background of your mind like an endless stream of commentary, and it shapes your emotions, decisions, and expectations. What you say inwardly is not harmless chatter. It is the blueprint of your outer world. If you repeatedly tell yourself stories of lack, delay, or struggle, become the silent script life follows. But if your inner speech aligns with the fulfillment of your desire, your destiny shifts. You are no longer rehearsing failure, you are rehearsing success. The power of inner speech is that it bypasses the masks you show to the world. You can say, I'm confident, but if your inner talk is filled with doubt, the truth will reveal itself in your posture, tone, and choices. Conversely, you may not speak much at all to others, but if your inner world is constantly affirming, I am secure, I am favored, I am victorious, that quiet conviction eventually spills into every area of your life. The unseen dialogue becomes the seen reality. Your inner speech as seeds constantly being planted in the soil of your subconscious. The soil does not discriminate, it simply grows whatever you sow. If your repeated inner words are, I can't, I don't, I'm not, then that garden will overflow with weeds of limitation. If you choose to speak within yourself words of assurance, I am capable, I have it, then the garden begins to blossom with evidence of fulfillment. Your life will always echo the dominant conversation you have with yourself. Trying hard often fails because while your hands are working to manifest, your mind is whispering, it's not here yet. Maybe it won't come. I'm not worthy. The outer effort cannot not override the inner contradiction. But when you harmonize your inner voice with the reality you want, small outward steps become powerful because they are backed by congruence. The words inside fuel the actions outside. Consider a person who desires financial freedom but constantly says within themselves, I never have enough. Money slips through my fingers. Fair. Even if they save, invest, or work harder, those actions are swimming against the current of their own speech. Imagine another person who inwardly affirms, I am abundant, I always have more than enough, flows naturally to me. Their actions in the outer world will be guided by clarity, confidence, and inspired opportunities. Their inner current is carrying them toward fulfillment instead of pulling them away. Your inner speech also directs how you respond to challenges. When setbacks occur, someone whose inner dialogue is rooted in defeat will say, this always happens to me, I can't win. But the one who has trained their inner voice to match their desire will respond differently. This is only a detour. I always land on my feet. Everything works in my favor. Both face the same event, but their destinies diverge. Talk dictates their resilience, creativity, and ability to see solutions. Changing your inner speech is not about shouting affirmations all day. It's about gently but consistently steering the conversation toward the end you want. Your old voice may resist, echoing doubt or past failures. Don't fight it. replace it. When you catch yourself thinking, stop and say within, I am more than enough. When you hear, it's not happening, replace it with ready mind. Over time, this new language becomes natural, and as it becomes natural, it becomes real. What you say inwardly is more powerful than any effort outwardly because it is the fountainhead from which all your actions, habits, and expectations flow. Continually speak failure within and live success without. But you also cannot continually speak fulfillment within and fail to see it reflected outside. Speech is destiny because it decides the atmosphere of your mind, and the atmosphere of your mind decides the climate of your life. So, ask yourself, what have you been saying when no one is listening? Does your inner voice echo your desire fulfilled, or your fear prolonged? Begin today to train that voice to align with the end. Speak to yourself as the one who already has it. You are overhearing the voice of victory inside you. Let that conversation be your companion throughout the day, and soon enough, will catch up to the words you've been whispering all along. Station is not about forcing your desires into existence through sheer willpower. It is about aligning with them so completely that your mind and body begin to live as though they are already true. Feeling it real is the art of stepping into the emotional state of the fulfilled desire and letting that vibration shape your reality. When you live in that state, you are no longer trying to pull the future closer. You are allowing the future to be experienced now. It is this present embodiment that draws the unseen into the seen. Most people make the mistake of chasing their desires with a tone of desperation. They wait anxiously, never realizing that their very emotion of striving is a declaration of absence. The energy of trying says, yet have it, and life, acting as a mirror, reflects back the lack. But when you shift into the tone of fulfillment, your emotions, thoughts, carry the fragrance of completion. Instead of reaching, you radiate. Instead of forcing, you allow. Instead of doubting, you rest. This is why those who live as though they already have often find that their desires arrive naturally, without strain or endless waiting. The last time you achieved something important, long before it materialized in your outer world, moments when you felt the certainty of it within. That feeling was not a fantasy. It was a preview, visual imprint of what was already unfolding. Feeling it real is about deliberately creating that preview, not just once, but consistently settles into your nervous system as your new normal. You don't rehearse the lack of the thing. You rehearse the experience of having it. Someone who desires love, if they walk through life feeling lonely, desperate, and incomplete, their energy broadcasts lack. People respond accordingly. But if that same person spends quiet moments embodying the warmth of companionship, feeling cherished and connected, and presence naturally shift. They smile more, they open themselves to others more easily, and their confidence radiates. Tone draws people who match it. Nothing has changed on the outside first. It began with the feeling inside. The same principle applies to success or peace. A person striving endlessly for success from a place of emptiness will burn out, always believing that the finish line is just one step further away. But if they begin to feel the satisfaction, security, confidence of being successful now, their actions carry ease instead of stress. They make decisions from a place of clarity, not panic. Attract circumstances that mirror their inner certainty because they are not working against the current of their own emotions. Read does not mean pretending, it means selecting the emotional state that corresponds with your fulfilled desire and inhabiting it now. Just as an actor immerses themselves in a role until the performance feels authentic, you immerse yourself in the role of the one who already has. Force the world to change. You allow your inner state to shift, and the world conforms to that shift. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require hours of effort. A few minutes of deep, genuine feeling is more powerful than days of mechanical repetition. Before sleep, gently drift into a scene that implies completion. Perhaps it's hearing someone congratulate you, holding what you longed for, simply feeling the relief of being on the other side. Let that scene stir the emotions of joy, peace, or gratitude and carry those feelings into sleep. Subconscious accepts this tone as truth, and from that truth, life reshapes itself. When doubt arises, do not battle it with more effort. Instead, ask yourself, if it were already mine, how would I feel right now? Then breathe into that state. Let your body relax into it. Imagination clothe it with images. Inner world be saturated with the sense of done. You don't need to sustain the feeling all day long. Just return to it often. Becomes natural. Manifestation is not a struggle. It is a remembering. By feeling it real, you remind yourself of what is already yours. In that remembrance, the world adjusts. Stop trying hard to make it happen and start embodying the tone of fulfillment. Let the relief, the joy, certainty, and the gratitude of your completed desire become the soundtrack of your inner world. The more you dwell there, the sooner your outer world will have no choice but to catch up to the song you've been singing inside. Persistence is not about pushing harder. Is it about exhausting yourself with endless effort? True persistence is quiet, subtle, and consistent. The gentle yet unshakable decision to return to the end whenever the mind wanders. Doubts will arise, self-concept, and the memories of past failures will try to argue for their survival. But persistence is the art of calmly saying, "No, my truth anymore," and choosing instead to stand again in the finished state. It is not the noise of struggle. It is the silence of conviction. When you persist, you don't fight against doubt. You revise it. Vision is a powerful practice because it doesn't allow negative memories or feelings to dictate the story of your life. Imagine a painful experience where things didn't work out. Left untouched, your mind will use that as evidence for why the future won't work either. But revision gives you authorship. You deliberately reimagine that memory in a way that matches your desired outcome. You see it unfolding differently, you hear different words, you allow yourself to feel the satisfaction of the better ending. By revising, teaching your subconscious that the past does not bind you. It is pliable, and you are its writer. Over time, subconscious accepts this revised memory as truth, and your identity shifts. That shift alters the trajectory of your future. Persistence is not clinging desperately, it is simply returning. When your mind drifts into fear or your emotions echo lack, persistence means you pause and step back into the state of fulfillment. You might do this through imagination, through affirming words, simple deep breath that reminds you, it is done. Think of persistence like training a muscle. At first, the mind will want to wander constantly, pulled by old patterns of worry. But each time you guide it back, the muscle strengthens. Eventually, remaining in the end becomes easier, more natural. Quiet persistence is so effective because it carries no resistance. When you try to force yourself into faith, you create tension. Tension only reinforces the belief that the desire is not yet yours. But when you quietly persist, you move with ease. Need to shout affirmations or spend hours visualizing. You simply return again and again to the state of the wish fulfilled. Return is like a gentle nudge, steering the ship of your life back toward the destination. This persistence also teaches you to rest in certainty. Once you've chosen the end, you no longer live as someone waiting to see if it will happen. You live as someone who knows it already has. Just as a farmer doesn't dig up seeds daily to check their growth, you stop checking and worrying about results. You rest, trusting that the unseen processes are already at work. Rest is not passivity, it is confidence. The calm acknowledgement that what you have assumed must unfold because life cannot deny what you continually occupy within. There will be moments when circumstances scream the opposite of what you've chosen. That is when persistence matters most. Not persistence in fighting the outer world, but persistence in refusing to be moved from your inner stance. When faced with lack, you quietly affirm abundance. When confronted with delay, you calmly know it is already yours. When met with resistance, you hold steady in the awareness that the outcome is inevitable. Inner stability becomes a magnet that dissolves obstacles, not by force, but by alignment. The beauty of quiet persistence is that it transforms you along the way. As you revise doubts and return to the end repeatedly, someone different. Not someone who is trying to manifest, but someone who simply lives in the reality of completion. This new version of you radiates assurance, peace, and clarity, and the world responds accordingly. So persist, not with frantic effort, with gentle certainty. Revise the memories and thoughts that contradict your desire. Return again and again to the fulfilled end. Rest in the knowing that your assumption is law, and what you have claimed within must become visible. Without quiet persistence is the steady heartbeat of manifestation, the rhythm that carries you from imagination to reality. One of the greatest obstacles people face when seeking to manifest their desires is impatience. They imagine the end, they assume it for a short while, glance at the clock of life, and say, "Why isn't it here yet?" That single question carries with it the vibration of lack, that the desire is separate and delayed. Yet manifestation does not unfold on the stopwatch of human anxiety, on the rhythm of your inner identity. What belongs to you does not need to be wrestled into place or dragged by effort. It arrives naturally. Identity is always stronger than time. The truth is that time itself bends to identity. If you see yourself as the one who already has the desired outcome, then the world begins to arrange itself in perfect timing. Not rushed, not delayed, unfolds at the moment that best serves the wholeness of your experience. When you demand instant results, living from the state of fulfillment, but from the state of lack, and that very lack keeps pushing the experience further away. When you release the timeline, you free yourself from resistance. You no longer ask, when? You simply know it is already so. The timing becomes irrelevant because identity has already secured it. Think about how natural this principle already is in your life. You don't constantly ask yourself, when will I be in school? You already live as one. You attend classes, you study, you carry that role. If you identify as healthy, you don't ask, when will I be well? You carry yourself with the assurance of vitality. The same applies to every desire. The moment you take on the identity of the fulfilled self, time stops being a barrier. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are embodying the truth that it already has. Effort alone cannot force what identity has not accepted. If you can work day and night, chase endlessly, and still feel empty, because effort without alignment produces exhaustion, not fulfillment. When identity shifts, effort becomes light and natural. You act not to achieve, but to express what you already are. The musician doesn't ask, when will I play? Their identity as a musician ensures the music flows. The parent doesn't question. Their identity already governs their actions of care and love. In the same way, whatever you assume yourself to be will manifest not by striving, but by natural expression. Releasing the timeline does not mean giving up on the desire, surrendering the anxious control of how and when it comes. It is resting in the knowing that the inner reality is the cause, will catch up in its perfect sequence. You don't stand at the oven door every minute to see if the bread has risen. You trust the process because the ingredients and the heat guarantee the result. In the same way, once you have assumed the state of the wish fulfilled, you trust the unseen process to deliver without constant interference. Also creates peace in your daily life. When you stop measuring every hour against your desire, you find yourself living with more joy in the present moment. You notice opportunities, enjoy relationships, and act with clarity, not weighed down by the pressure of time. Ironically, it is in this relaxed state that desires often appear most quickly. Resistance has dissolved. You are no longer blocking the flow with fear, impatience, or obsession. Already exists as a completed reality in the field of infinite possibilities. By identity, you select which version you experience. If you assume the identity of the one who already has, then the outer world must conform, regardless of the calendar. Whether it arrives tomorrow, next month, in a year, it will arrive because your state guarantees it. And when it comes, it will feel natural, surprising, because you had already lived it inside long before it appeared outside. So release the timeline. Stop staring at the clock, counting the days, and stop asking when. Ask instead, who am I right now? If the answer is aligned with the end, nothing more to worry about. What is yours is not determined by effort, struggle, or anxious waiting. It is secured by identity, is eternal, untouched by the ticking of time. Rest in that certainty and let life unfold in perfect order. Woven through everything we've explored is simple yet life-changing. You do not need to strive, beg, or chase for what is already yours. Manifestation is not about exhausting effort. It is about stepping into identity, assumption, and quiet certainty. When you stop chasing and begin assuming, you give the world permission to mirror your inner state. When you upgrade your self-concept, the outer conditions bow to the higher version of you. Inner speech aligns with fulfillment, your destiny aligns with it too. When you feel it real, radiate the tone of completion and instead of the strain of trying. When you persist quietly, doubts dissolve because you continually return to the end. When you release the timeline, you rest in the assurance that identity, not time, delivers the promise you have ever longed for is not somewhere far away. It is within reach right now, waiting for you to recognize it as your own. Testing how hard you can struggle, it is asking if you will finally believe in who you truly are. You are not someone trying to manifest who already has. The world is your mirror, and it cannot withhold from you what you have claimed within. Walk from this moment not as a seeker, but as a knower, not as someone hoping, but as someone remembering, trying hard to manifest. It is already yours. Live it, feel it, speak it, and the world will reflect back to you the truth you have chosen to embody, the freedom, the peace, and the power that has always belonged to you.